Waiting. I think I did it. Okay. All right, it being, what time is it exactly? 6:04 on Tuesday, November 30th, 2021. I'm calling this Board of Selectmen meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being recorded by PACTV. Anyone intending to make an audio or video recording of this meeting should notify me at this time. Financial assistance applications are available on the town's website or by calling the Selectman's office. The weekly warrant was signed and given to the town accountant. I also wanted to just mention a few things that are on the website right now. Kingston firefighter EMT Chris Faraka honored at the 32nd Annual Firefighter of the Year Awards on November 23rd. In the early morning hours of July 6th, 2020, firefighter EMT Chris Faraka awoke to the sounds of a smoke detector activating and screams coming from the house next door. After exiting his home, he quickly determined the house next door was on fire. He ran to the home and under heavy smoke conditions entered to assist several occupants to the exterior. He re-entered the building where he found an elderly occupant trapped in the rear bedroom. The man had fallen out of bed in an attempt to escape, but was unable to get up. He carried the man to the exterior and re-entered a third time and was able to extinguish the fire with an extinguisher. There is no doubt that the actions of firefighter Varaka saved the man's life. That man was the uncle of Chris's wife, Tammy. Chris's actions that morning are what exemplifies the fire service and the members of the Kingston Fire Department. So I just wanted to bring that up. And Jess, you mentioned that you had an announcement as well?
Yes. Kingston's own True Repertory Theater will be presenting an original adaptation of the Dickens classic A Christmas Carol. This adaptation takes a fresh look at the beloved character Ebenezer Scrooge in an hour-long play with music. This is a great holiday event for the entire family and a wonderful way to celebrate the season. The show will be performed at the Beale House, 222 Main Street in Kingston on December 3rd, 4th, 10th, and 11th at 8 p.m. and December 5th and 12th at 3 p.m. Tickets are $20 general admission and $17 for seniors and students. Tickets can be purchased at the door or online at www.trureptheater.com. There will be complimentary beverages and sweets, as well as the opportunity to purchase raffle tickets for a chance to win a Christmas basket valued at over $150,000. Also, as part of True Rep Theater's Project 719 Charitable Division, they will be collecting canned goods for the Vineyard Resource Center in Kingston and working with Kingston Fire Department collecting new unwrapped toys for the charity Toys for Tots.
Great, thank you so much. No problem. All right, so we're going to start with open forum. Is there anyone here for open forum? I feel like we have a reverb happening with the sound. Is anyone else hearing that? Megan? Megan is raising her hand. Okay. Megan, you can unmute if you have something to say.
Hi, Kim. It's Megan Hickey, Winthrop Street. I am just looking for an update on the Blackwater Memorial Swamp purchase and sale agreement, if it's been signed.
I believe
returned?
last I heard there were some questions about the purchase and sale agreement. There's just some language in there about buildings and things. Dick, do you have an update on that by chance?
On the purchase and sale?
Yeah.
I took a ride over there last Thursday, I believe it was Thursday afternoon, with the town administrator and hand-delivered another copy of the purchase and sale to Mr. Carlson. Had a conversation with him. He had some concerns, questions. We answered a few of the questions, and hopefully Thursday we're going back to meet with him this Thursday, the town administrator and I, and perhaps do a walkthrough of the property to see. There were concerns, I know, with a couple of previous 61As that things got left on the property that the town ended up having to dispose of, and we want to avoid any of that, and Mr. Carlson has assured us that there's nothing there, and hopefully, like I say, Thursday, we'll get the thing finalized.
Great. And the walkthrough was you and Mr.
Town
Hickey?
administrator and I.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Anyone else here for open for, oh, Megan, did you say your address?
Yeah,
42 Winthrop Street.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else for open forum? No? Okay. All right, so moving on to the appointments. Our first appointment is a public hearing for the application of B3 Restaurant and Bar for a new restaurant liquor license, common victular license, and entertainment license at the mall. Is there,
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing for an application for B3 Restaurant and Bar.
I think I have to read the public hearing notice first, though.
Okay,
I like your excitement, though.
things along.
In accordance with MGL Chapter 138, a public hearing will be held on November 30th, 2021 at 6 p.m. in Room 200 at the Townhouse, 26 Evergreen Street, Kingston, Massachusetts, on the application of B3 Restaurant and Bar Incorporated for a new restaurant liquor license, common victular, and entertainment license, Melcy Django Manager. Said license located at 101 Kingston Collection Way, number C128, Kingston, Massachusetts, and described as a restaurant located in the mall with an exterior entrance. This is a one-floor establishment with an outdoor patio, seating capacity of 300. The facility contains 8,132 square feet, 4 entrances, 5 exits. A copy of the application is available for viewing in the Selectman's office. Go ahead, Dick.
I'll second Dick.
What?
I'll make my motion now to open the public hearing for an application of B3 Restaurant and Bar for a new restaurant liquor license, common vics license, and entertainment license at 101 Kingsbury Collection Way.
Second?
Kingston Collection Way, right? Okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Great. So the public hearing is open.
Quick question. So I know that it says midnight. I was wondering if they were going to do 1 a.m., just in case, because I know that the other one was changed to 1 a.m., so I just want to see if that was something they wanted to
So
do.
they're on the line. So we had a prior, for those of you who weren't watching our prior meetings, I know everybody watches all of our meetings, right? We had someone apply for a similar license, and they had wanted to stay open potentially until 1, although their regular hours wouldn't be 1. If they wanted to have a New Year's Eve party or a wedding or something like that, they'd be able to stay open a little bit later with that. So yes, the question just would be, if the application says midnight, they would need to update that application to say 1 a.m. before we could sign it. But I believe the applicant is on the phone. Melcy, if you want to unmute yourself. Maybe? Elsie? Hi
Good
there.
evening. Hi. Sorry. Hi, yes, would like to, for Friday and Saturday, would like to amend the application to stay open till 1 a.m.
Okay, so Tricia, what would that process be?
Sorry, Tricia.
Not to put you on the spot, but what do they need to do? Nothing, just change that application? Perfect, so you can just send Tricia Tucker an email with that update, and she can update that. Does that work?
Yep, definitely. Thank you very much.
Great. Does anyone have any questions from the public? It is a public hearing, so this is the time. I'm not seeing.
Where exactly is this going to be? In the mall? In the collection?
It's gonna be the old rustic kitchen.
Oh, great.
Perfect.
Also, so the 1 a.m. stipulation was not for, my understanding is, it wasn't for like weekends, it was for special exceptions. So when they said how they wanted to amend it, does that mean that their intent is to stay open till 1 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays?
Sure if it stipulates that on it. Just, it gives them the ability to stay open till 1 a.m. should they choose to be.
Okay. I just want to make
I
sure
think
it's consistent with the
David
prior
Gilmore's from
license.
Stay open.
I think you're on.
Correct. We'll see, once we open, we'll see how things goes, and if there's a need for us to stay open till 1, we might, but if there's no need for it, we might close at 12.
Well, David
So
Gilmore
we'll
is
see.
here too as well, so he,
So David Gilmore with the Kingston Collection.
you know, I agree with Melcy's statement. I think doing it from just a holiday perspective just doesn't really do them justice, especially where there's a lot of movies that do midnight releases and they show them through. So I think just approving it throughout so they have the ability to flex their hours based off of what the need will be, what movies are released. So, you know, I know the previous restaurants did the same thing. They came back and amended it, you know, with last call being at 12:45. It just makes sense for them to have the ability to stay open for that time frame.
Great. Okay. Does anyone have any concerns about that or questions?
Considering I made it, I'm gonna say it.
When's the hope to open?
Yeah.
When do you hope to open? Oh, he's
Great,
laughing.
great. Well, we're trying to open before the New Year's, but we'll see. Probably we'll end up being like mid-January.
All right, well, if there are no questions or comments from the public, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second?
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then we can have a motion on the,
I move to approve the restaurant all alcoholic beverages license, common vicular license, and entertainment license for B3 Restaurant and Bar with the following restrictions. Alcoholic beverages shall only be sold daily between the hours of 11 a.m. and 1 a.m. and upon the following conditions met: the final inspection of Board of Health, Fire Department, and Building Inspector, submission of proof of workers' compensation insurance and liquor liability insurance, payment of all fees, license to be released after approval by the ABCC, and an occupancy permit has been issued.
Second.
all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Well, congratulations.
Madam
Thank
Chair,
you.
may I ask a quick question? I'm here, Sean Sweeney, on behalf of the applicant. I just know that there's a tight time requirement for the forwarding of the approval from the local licensing authority to the ABCC. Do you handle that, or are we required to make sure that happens?
We do that here.
Great. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Perfect. Great.
This is
All right.
exciting.
Wonderful.
Keep coming.
All right. Do you have anything else that
I
you need
think-
done tonight, though?
I don't.
Okay, well, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Melcy, enjoy Aruba.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you very much.
So our
Thank you.
second item is the public hearing to determine if the town of Kingston should exercise its right of first refusal to acquire parcels of land located on Ring Road, 126 Ring Road, and 137 Ring Road.
I make a
So,
motion to open the public, oh, no,
I'm just going to read the public hearing notice.
Okay.
This is to serve as an official notification in accordance with General Law, Chapter 61A, Section 14. The Kingston Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, November 30th, 2021, at 6 p.m. at the Townhouse, Room 200, 26 Evergreen Street, to determine if the town of Kingston should exercise its right of first refusal to acquire a parcel of land from Wayne and Ann Dunham and Roger Carrera, consisting of two separate parcels on Ring Road. Wayne and Ann Dunham, 126 Ring Road, map and parcels 70-4-4, Roger Carreria, I'm sorry, I'm butchering the name, 137 Ring Road, map 69, parcel 1. So if someone wants to make the motion to open the public hearing.
I make motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Questions, comments, anything?
That explanation,
Yeah, we have
some background, something.
Come on up. Just name and address at the microphone, and we'll go from there.
Hi. Ian Ward, New England Consulting Services, here on behalf of the landowners. This is a project, it's a dual-use project, so it's solar over cranberry bogs, and the land is staying in agricultural production, but as the state law requires, that which is a change of use has got to come out of 61A. So that's what is before you tonight is, for both these projects. One is 410,000 square feet, more or less. The other is 77,000 square feet. That is looking to come out of Chapter 61A because of the, quote, change of use, but it is still going to be farmed. So that's the background of the project.
Okay. And for everyone's information, the Conservation Commission has discussed the right of first refusal on both properties and are not in favor of the town exercising their right of first refusal. So they recommend that we waive our right of first refusal.
Thank you. Pine Dubois from the Jones River Watershed Association. This sounds to me and feels to me part of a trend that's going on in southeastern
Sorry, can you just
Massachusetts.
say your address too?
93 Elm Street.
Thank you.
In Kingston, Mass.
I know.
I sent a little while ago a drone video to Gloria, not knowing whether it could be shown tonight or not, to help show the site. We were over there. I've known it for a while, being a longtime Kingston resident. Also, having some familiarity with the area, going back to 1985 when we were mapping out the town's first open space plan. This whole area from Spring Brook across, which is north of Wapping Road, and where the old Kingston Trailers is, which is now called Greystone Development. Jones River Watershed Association is taking the CR on Greystone because of the box turtles that are there, because they cross Wapping Road and then they go lay their eggs near the oak tree that won't be there anymore, I guess. But anyway, there's the state involvement because of the box turtle. That box turtle habitat covers this entire area. It stretches, it continues to move east. You can take a look at your GIS maps. The Biomap 2 layer will show you sort of the importance of the ecological area. This whole area from Ring Road and the Dunhams is kind of the beginning of where Barrows Brook emerges and then flows, I'm not even sure which direction it is anymore, but north, I'll call it north and west, through Korea's bogs, joins Jones River Brook, flows under West Street and joins the Jones River. That whole area there has been reclassified a cold water stream, a cold water river fishery, since the dams were removed. So trout are rebounding. Neighbors along Spring Brook and Jones River Brook know how many trout are up in those areas as well as how many habitats are. The concern I have for this is that it doesn't make any sense to take advantage of a state program, the SMART program, in order to put solar and in an untested way over cranberry bogs, call it dual use, get incentives from the state for that, and then be required to take it out of agriculture when the permit allowed you to put it there in the first place. Before that, all of those bog areas were wetlands. They've been constrained, and the cranberry is a native plant in Massachusetts. I'm not complaining about, the fact that it became cranberry bogs. But I doubt that it will remain cranberry bogs, especially if a solar LLC is going to be managing the agricultural purposes. I'm also concerned because this stretches across the Plimpton town line. So 2 towns are involved in this proposal, and I don't know if there's been any communication. I haven't talked to the town of Plimpton. I've been late to every Conservation Commission meeting, so I haven't participated in that. But I know that, the first order of conditions was under Mary Guiney. The amended order of conditions is under our new conservation agent. And there's not been a consistency in looking at what is this going to be doing to the habitat and the rivers of Kingston. And I think it's an important question to ask not only the consultant, but why, when the cranberry bog is next to a massive transmission line, and if you take a look at that YouTube, it's on the Jones River Ecology YouTube channel. Anyone can take a look at it. It's not an edited flight, it's an 8-minute flight, but we'll do a little work with it and put some maps in there eventually. but you'll understand that there's a great deal of habitat there. I'm concerned that being next to that massive transmission line, two things. One, why aren't we building the solar on the transmission line and saving the rest of the agricultural land or the forest lands in some areas of southeastern Mass? And two, is this a setup for becoming an industrial zone? And if that's the case, I'm really worried. And so I feel like there's been this sort of, I won't call it a bifurcation because I think it's too many parts that are segregated, including a new Ring Road Solar LLC. I have no idea any track record there. I don't know if they're farmers, if they're really into solar, or if they're flipping the land. And I feel like the town needs to know those things before this board would say, no, we don't want it. Because I think there are ways to want it. I think there are ways to protect it. And I feel concerned about it because we have the conservation restriction just downstream. And the original open space plan had a trail going all the way from Silver Lake really to Indian Pond. And so, and there is a conservation restriction on tall timbers, although I'm not sure it ever got recorded. But during that permitting process, there was a lot of work to protect certain areas. So I would ask that you slow down a little bit, take a little time, don't make a decision tonight, but get some more information. I sure don't have enough information. I'm a fan of solar. I got solar in my yard. We want to put solar at the landing. We want to put solar on the rooftops. But I don't want to destroy environmental assets that are very important to us. With these solar installation comes the batteries and all that sort of things. There's a tremendous amount of concern about fires with that kind of thing. If that happened in this location, Barrows Brook and the Jones River would take a bad hit. And I don't want to see that happen, and neither do you. So I just would like to see more information on this so that we have a really good understanding of whether it really is a benefit to the town. I saw Matt Pinella's thing about the taxes. I think I don't buy that, so to speak. But at any rate, I do not think you have enough information on this. And I think we need a real presentation about what's going to happen, how this is combining with the town of Plimpton, how it's serving the interests of all of us in terms of green energy and halting, our march toward climate disaster, and that it's really a way forward for the town. Thank you.
Thanks, Pine.
Thank you.
To go off of what Pine is saying, Pine, you can say it's fine. I wanted to say, if you look at it, especially, it really is on the line of Plimpton here, and I just really, today, myself, I really like to know how Plimpton is feeling about this, and the fact that I know that Ring Road has been a bone of contention with Plimpton and us, and how much use we do have of that road, and how many people are going down that road, and things like that. I know there's been a lot of things happening with Plimpton, so, selling this land off and putting solar up there, I'm all about solar. I have solar on my house as well. But I know it's our town and we can do what it's our property, but we are literally on the line of the Plimpton, and I just feel like it's a lot to take in for one night and try to figure out how this is all going to happen. I don't want to say
We don't have to decide tonight, though.
yeah, but I feel like there's some things that I would like to get discussed, because it's not like it's in the middle of Kingston and it's our land. It's like, it really is, it seems like these two towns. I'm sorry, yes, Keith, thank you.
No, I'm done. I wasn't sure if the engineering firm had any information that they could share with the board regarding any conversations you may have had with the town of Plimpton, where they stand with this, any of the other concerns that the resident has addressed tonight that you might be able to clarify for the board?
Sure, I can do my best at explaining some of that information. The Town of Kingston Planning Board, after multiple hearings, reviewed and approved this. The Town of Kingston Conservation Commission did as well. A lot of those concerns were addressed in the documentation.
Okay.
The building inspector weighed in, so the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. This is one of the last things to do once all those other things are in place, is to ask the selectmen about the the right of first refusal.
So is any of the property in Plimpton being affected by the solar field?
Yes.
Okay. And
Yes,
have you
and
been to the
so-
town, and you've been to the town of Plimpton, and what has their response been to you?
The Town of Plimpton Conservation Commission approved the project, and the Town of Plimpton Planning Board approved the project as well.
Okay.
So at this point in time, that it's before the same boards for the right of first refusal. So it's been, notices is being given to the town now.
Are there any concerns about this becoming an industrial park in the future? Any plans for that happening?
That is new news to me.
Okay.
Can I ask if Plimpton doesn't have the right of first refusal and Kingston does that affect the sale of the land if one town does something over the other?
Do they not have the same?
I'm just saying, like, if one town says yes and one town says no, is that going to be an issue? Like, I'm just saying if, like, it's affecting two towns and two boards, so I'm just wondering how that affects it if one town doesn't agree.
That's a good question. I would think, I mean, from a practical perspective, this project works as a whole, as the bogs work as a whole.
Thank you.
And that kind of leads me to think too, so it's one purchase and sale that we have right of first refusal on. So how would that even, like, how is the purchase price if it's in two different towns?
Well, it's probably the value of our portion is this number, and the value of their portion is that number.
Yeah, but I just didn't, I mean, that's probably not defined yet as far as.
Do you know when Plimpton is, the selectmen are meeting on this, or the select board?
No, not yet. It's been submitted, but nothing yet.
Yeah, so I noticed we received the hand-delivered letter, it looks like the 6th of October. So just for reference, folks, if we remember, we have 120 days from notification, we have to do something. So that 120 days, if October 6th is the date that we start from, is February 3rd. So we do not have to make decisions tonight. If people feel uncomfortable, they haven't spoken to Plimpton,
So what are the questions the board has, so the owners and the engineer can go back and try to have those questions answered? So a decision can be made. I mean, you do have 120 days, doesn't mean you have to use the
Correct.
120 days. So if there are specific questions, you know, I think it's only fair to let them know what those are, so they can have them respond and get it back on an agenda when it's most appropriate for both parties.
I'd like to know what Plimpton thinks.
Well, Plimpton's
The
planning-
selectmen. I'd like to know what they think. If they might just say the same thing about us, so then you're
Well-
just kind of stuck in the middle, and that's fine.
I speak to this? Why would we, so we're going to wait for the Plimpton Board of Selectmen?
No,
to-
not necessarily.
Oh, okay, I thought that's what you said.
No, if they have a strong opinion one way or the other, I'd just like to know it. If they don't, that's fine. I could make a decision tonight, but I'd like to give everyone else an opportunity to have their questions answered.
Well, can I speak to, how many public hearings did you have with the planning board?
Yeah, 3 or 4.
Was there anyone in attendance that objected to it? That you recall?
Yes, there were some neighbors that had some concerns, and that's what kind of prolonged
Okay.
the number of hearings. But those neighbors were, there
Were they
was,
satisfied at the end of the
they were satisfied.
presentation? And okay.
Yep,
How about the conservation? How many hearings at the Conservation Commission?
similar, 2 or 3, and the same neighbors showed for that.
Same
and
neighbors?
Once they were satisfied, there wasn't anyone else that had concern.
So you've done the process the way the process is supposed to be done, and now you're looking to us to just either say yes or no. Okay.
I mean, I'm fine voting on it tonight, but, so I don't have any.
I'll make
I
a
don't have any
motion.
exterior questions.
Well, we
Jess,
gotta,
hold
we
on,
can't do
Digby,
that.
I just want to
We
see,
should get
I want
the
to see
horse
if
before the cart.
Jess or Sheila, we still have the public hearing that's open, so we have the opportunity for anybody else to ask questions as well.
Is anyone else from the public here for this? I would like to hear from the public if.
Thank you.
Good evening. Carl Pike, Shore Drive. I sit through a lot of these selectmen meetings, and I am standing up here today to speak on behalf of businesses in this town. It seems to me that I come to these meetings week after week after week, and we find ways of putting up roadblocks for every businessman that wants to do something in Kingston. I think that we need to start thinking about all sides of the coin, that there may be a lot of environmentalists that want things done, but there are also a lot of us pure residents that want to see business prosper in this town, that we don't want to continue to see the residential tax rate become a bigger and bigger proportion of the total. I encourage you to start considering the businesses in this town and to make this town as welcoming to businesses in the real world as we like to talk about. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.
I have one more question that I have to ask him. Oh, Roger, you can get up, either one of you, it doesn't matter. Just a quick question. There was a catastrophe over in Carver with solar panels on a bog. They were going to mount them on these huge telephone poles, and now I understand all the telephone poles have to be taken out. You don't have any intentions of doing anything like that?
Not telephone poles.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
In my mind, so I guess I have some questions, but those are outside of the scope of what we're here to do tonight. To me, we're here to say, is there any public benefit to this land that the town would want to acquire this land for? And although some concerns have been presented about maybe how things will unravel with this land, that doesn't affect whether or not there's public benefit in making us want to acquire this land. And I do think in this particular situation, because of the vetting through the planning board and through conservation, there has been noticed public hearings on this, so the neighbors are aware. I do, in general, worry about some of these right of first refusals because there is no public hearing notification on our level to make sure people around it are informed of what's going on. As we learned in Winthrop Street, it's important for people to know. But ultimately, our goal here is to say, is this something that is worth our town purchasing for a public benefit? And I haven't heard anything to suggest that there's a public benefit to it. So
When you say, just to be clear, when you say there's no required notification, we notify through sort of the standard public notice. We don't have to notify abutters to the particular parcel.
Oh, understandable.
Okay.
I'm
I
just
just want to
saying
make
that
sure
there's
everyone
no
understands
mailed-
that. We did post it. It was on the website. It was in the paper, wherever it needs to be.
Just with other property type transactions,
Right.
there's a butter notification. So, but I do think this has been something that has gone through a process and people have been made aware of. And the fact that no one is in the audience today to tell us otherwise, I'm not, I also will say too that it doesn't sound like Kingston is holding this up because it does have to go through a process in Plimpton. I don't think that there's any faults to at least even just waiting. If people feel strongly, I would support them that we should hear from Plimpton because we're meeting in 2
Well,
weeks, but I'm not.
I have to say that Plimpton's planning board and their conservation, they've gone through both of them and they have approved it, which is okay. The box turtles are important, and I really don't like to take habitats away from box turtles, but I also feel like, although, to Carl's point, we are approving businesses to come in. This is solar panel, which is a bit business, but it's not consumable business, except for in the fact that we will save nice tax dollars to, and again, residential is booming in this town, and we're trying to get more tax base here. And it is important to get more tax bases and think outside the box of where we're getting our tax base from. I know that we don't want to be a town of all solar panels, but I also feel like to Jess's point, it's been vetted. It's not like this is a surprise. It's been vetted by both towns. So.
All right. Is anyone else? Oh, Megan Hickey is raising her hand.
Hi, Kim. It's Megan again. Megan Hickey, 42 Winthrop Street. I also sit on the Conservation Commission, so I am actually looking. We discussed the solar panel project, but I don't have any notes about any type of feelings towards it being removed out of 61A or towards the town's option to buy or not to buy. I don't want to be misquoted in either way. We did approve a solar panel project after a handful of meetings. I will also note that there is a condition on the order of conditions for the fence to be 6 or 8 inches off the ground to enable these box turtles to move around like they always have been. I made sure, we all made sure that was definitely on the order of conditions. That should be a perpetual agreement. So it shouldn't have a giant impact on the box turtles. Might make them take a right instead of a left, but they'll still get where they're going because they'll still be able to go straight either way. But I don't want to be confused where our approval went.
Our conservation agent just walked in the door. Welcome.
Perfect.
Come right up. Can you speak to this, please?
sitting in
Introduce yourself.
Out of breath from running up the stairs. But Matt Pinella, conservation agent. October 27th, if you look at the minutes, I addressed the commission on this. So the commission didn't have a hearing on this. The commission didn't vote on this. We discussed this. I explained the situation to the commission. I explained how it was a portion of the property. My interpretation of this, okay? I'm not town council. My interpretation of this was that the portion of the properties that are coming out of 61A, meaning the portion of the properties that the town has a right of first refusal on, is the actual bogs where the solar is going to be. The rest of the properties will remain within Chapter 61. So that would mean if the town decided to exercise their right of first refusal, they're not going to own the whole parcel. So it's not something where we exercise our right because, hey, this is a great spot for conservation property. Would be basically a block for the project. And I'm not sure how that would work legally or what would end up there, if it would just kill the whole project or what. But I described to the commission that it was my belief that this was not something the commission would be interested in for purchase. And they asked, well, do we need to vote on this? And I said, I don't think so. I'll check before the next meeting. I talked with Keith before that. I said, do you need an official vote? He said no. So I issued the letter from me saying that conservation didn't have an interest in purchasing the property or exercising the right of first refusal. So that's how that went. Obviously, you've seen now you don't have to vote on it today. You could put it off to the next meeting. I can look into it a little more. I did speak with the Plimpton conservation agent when we first got these in, just to talk to him and just sort of let him know what I saw this as. I'm not sure, he didn't really specify, nor would he be able to specify, whether the town of Plimpton would be interested on their end. So if you have any more questions about the process, I'll be here. If you have any questions right now, I can speak to them.
I think with everything being said, I can make a motion to.
We have to close the public hearing first.
Well, I'm saying, I'm happy to vote on it tonight then. I feel like we've had enough discussion on it, and especially what you just said, we don't even have we only have a piece of it.
We have more public comment too. Yeah, go ahead, Matt. Hold on.
I can just specify one more thing, that when we have people that say, well, conservation approved it and planning approved it, that doesn't always mean that conservation thinks it's a good idea. That means that it checked all the boxes. The SMART program is something that someone in the state thought was a good idea, to combine energy production with agriculture. There's a lot of people who are skeptical of that process. There is language in there that they do have to continue harvesting cranberries. So Ring Road LLC, Ring Road Solar LLC, is a company that was just created by the parent organization, BRE Solar, in order to run these projects. And supposedly they have a whole crew that they work with that's supposed to know how to do all these solar bog harvesting operations. But just my point in that, just because, at least on the conservation side, that we approved a project doesn't mean that conservation thinks it's a great idea. Obviously, we'd probably prefer that it stayed as cranberry bogs. But the question becomes, as far as the conservation department anyways weighing in on whether the town should spend money to purchase a parcel that isn't necessarily going to have conservation value at that point, because it's basically going to be done to stop a solar development from going through. So just keep that in mind when somebody says that conservation approved it doesn't always mean that we like it. Oftentimes it just means that they checked all the boxes. So.
We have Tree with her hand up, and then I believe Pine would like to speak again. It was October 13th, I'm hearing from the back of the room, not the 27th, for anyone paying attention. Tree, did you want to speak?
Hi, this is actually Nathan. Can you hear me?
Oh, hi, Nathan, yes. I could hear you. Now I can't anymore.
Oh, okay.
There you are.
Okay. I am new to this topic.
Sorry, name and address first. Full name and address.
Nathan Hedberg, 5 Post Court.
Thank you.
So this is new information to me. I recognize that it was before the planning board at some point, but I never had an opportunity to look this over, and I would appreciate some time to get some more information about it. So I would ask that you not vote tonight and grant everybody the ability to just learn more about what's being proposed there. I'm not opposed to the project, but I do want to know more about it.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm going to go now.
Oh, Tree's going to start too. I guess Tree's are too. Sorry, Pine.
Sorry, quickly. This is Tree Kaharich, 5 Post Court also. So I heard a couple of strange things tonight. It seemed to be conflicting things. I heard the person who proposed the project saying there were 2 to 3 CONSCOM meetings. I heard the agent say there were no public hearings for this in CONSCOM. So that's confusing to me. But I also don't think that the Board of Selectmen should decide on whether or not they exercise the right of first refusal based on what a planning board decides or a CONSCOM decides, because the questions before the boards are all different. So the question before the board tonight is, do you exercise your right of first refusal? And I would really like Kingston, which is essentially a business, to start looking at these decisions as business decisions. Is it smart to own this property? Could Kingston own it and rent it out for solar and make more money? Essentially, this property has been subsidized by the residents of this town, having it be under 60A for many years. So, you know, I would like to understand, if they don't exercise the right of first refusal, what is the tax income going to be for this change? Does that make financial sense? These should be business decisions, and so it's really frustrating just to see a couple people come up and say, well, it's been through all of its pieces and this is the next step, so let's just rubber stamp an approval, or rubber stamp, we don't need this property, let's just let it go. I really would like more information, and I really like the board to do a bit more work on this before just passing these properties through. Thank you.
We're not getting the full property, we're getting a piece.
Can I have Pine? You want Matt to go first, or? I think just clarify. Do you want to clarify? Sure. Okay, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, totally understandable. To clarify, what I was just speaking about, the commission not having a hearing on it, was for the notice for right of first refusal. The commission in the past few months had at least 2, if not more, hearings on the request for amendment of order of conditions on that project, and previous to that, before my time here, had several meetings on the approval of the project initially. So it did get an order of conditions from the Conservation Commission. It did get planning board approval through their hearing process. Nobody really expected this step in the process, which is a formality based on the state requiring that they pull those portions of the property out of 61A, I believe, so that the towns can make more money off of solar production rather than continuing to give property owners a tax break while they're generating revenue from something other than farming. So valid points, and I had been interested to talk to Carl or somebody to figure out, I mean, how do we actually, you know, how do the taxes work on solar in town? And that's a valid question as far as like, how much is the town going to make? But I would keep in mind that, and maybe get clarification from the applicant's representative, that what we're talking about is a subset of the property. So I don't know whether there would be the opportunity for the town to make money off of this project by purchasing that portion. I don't know if that would actually just kill the project or not.
Thank you. Pine?
Pine Dubois again. I just wanted to clarify that my discussion before wasn't strictly about box turtles. And it shouldn't be perceived that way. I mentioned it only because it's, people want to run over box turtles, but they are a unique species, and Kingston is uniquely endowed with them. So they're rare, and so they're important, but that's not why. Why, I believe, has to do with the water resources that are there. And the only land that is not going under a solar canopy is the river, the Barrows Brook and the pond that's there and whatnot. So, I think the questions that Tree was asking are vital. I think I'm interested in this. I'm interested in a lot of different things, but I can't make all the meetings. I had no idea it was in front of the planning board. And the last Conservation Commission meeting, I had a conflict for, so I couldn't go. I still have not seen either of those orders. I found out about your meeting Friday. So that's why we went to the site Saturday and flew it, so that we would have a sense of how the rivers were connected there. And they are dramatically connected, and they're very important to the town. So I would just ask you to focus more on the river system and the water resources, which nobody can do without, and are going to become increasingly important in terms of keeping them healthy.
Thank you.
If I may.
Yeah.
So my prior statements were under the, I guess at this point, misunderstanding that the Conservation Commission had weighed in on the right of first refusal. The letter in our folder states that the Conservation Commission has no interest in the town exercising their rights. So I took that to mean explicitly what it says. But hearing from someone on the Conservation Commission and now further understanding what has actually transpired, I would like to know if there is a conservation, if they feel there's a conservation benefit that is in the public benefit to this land. That's
sounds like
I would like to know.
You'd
to
like
speak to,
them to vote on it, the issue.
or weigh in, or submit a letter just to say that. So
When is your next meeting? Put you on the spot. So your next meeting is next Wednesday. So Jess, are you saying that you'd like us to not, potentially you're asking the board to not vote to exercise or waive our right of first refusal until after Conservation has the opportunity to submit a formal recommendation?
Yeah, I mean, I guess
that's what I'm hearing. I just want to be
rephrasing my
clear.
prior statement, that I was under one assumption that has since been clarified to not be the correct thing. And also to Keith's point earlier of if we're going to delay this, we should have real actionable things that we want to see or hear. And before that, there was nothing that I could really say that, or I felt strongly that we haven't heard yet, because I was under the assumption that we had already had that weigh in. And now knowing that we haven't, I think that it would be important, especially in light of what Pine shared about certain environmental concerns, to at least have.
It doesn't sound like they're going to weigh in, though. Like you said, that you're not going to do, you wrote the letter, so I'm just kind of confused as to, I don't want to wait for a week and then they're not going to, there's not going to be another thing that happened because you already talked about it.
Right. This was discussed at a conservation meeting. I gave the commission my feelings on the notice that we received and what that meant, and that it was my opinion that it wouldn't be in the commission's interests to go forward with this. I've had one commissioner text me tonight and another now on camera say that they don't remember talking about it at all. So would it hurt to have them discuss it on December 8th and have more of a discussion on this? No, not at all. I think that there are a lot of parts of this that are confusing to people, and it would be maybe good practice to have town council weigh in on some of this and explain some of how some of this would work if the town did want to purchase. Because it's my understanding that we don't have the option right now to purchase the whole parcel. Mm-hmm. All we're talking about is agricultural cranberry bog mats that are are slated to have solar panels attached on the top of them. What would happen after the town exercised their first refusal on that portion of the parcel? That's what would be important to know. If there were commission members who felt that it would be valuable to have those properties for conservation, there's a lot to it. As far as the dollar per acre and all that, there'd be a lot to figure out there.
Matt, I appreciate that, because that's kind of where I'm at with that piece of the property. If we can't get the full property, I feel like it's just a piece, and, that's the kind of thing that I'm wrapping my head around, because if we can't have the full property to have it as conservation or look at it as to what we can do as a town with it, I just don't feel like it's something that I'm just weighing on, like, I'm in your same frame of mind here, that like, it's like, what would happen, and I don't know if legal counsel can talk about that, but again, to Carl's point, I do think that we need to look into certain businesses, and it's still staying, an agricultural site.
It's going to be something that's going to come up more often based on the cranberry industry and growers looking to diversify or get out or downsize.
Jim?
So it's not going to be...
This isn't our first rodeo doing this. We've already approved one site. Right? On the ball?
I'll also say that in this situation, all of the panels are on the agricultural bog. The only components that are not on the bog would be supporting structures, battery arrays, things like that, which were all on previously disturbed agricultural areas. So as far as saying that the only portion of the properties that aren't going to have solar panels on them being the brooks that flow through there, that's not accurate. So I think as far as what I was looking at in getting this notice is the town has the option right now to exercise right of first refusal on the portion of the property that has the bogs on it, and that's it. But we can wrap town council in and see what that means if we do that, and if there would be potential to then purchase the rest of the property, I'm not sure. And we can discuss that on December 8th with the commission and come out of it with an official vote or an attempt at an official vote.
Okay, did you want to add anything?
Sure. Respectfully, I think we're making this way too hard.
Why do you think I called on you?
There's, a property owner is looking to remove a portion of their property from 61A to put a solar array on. Solar arrays, typically, in my experience, are valued by the assessor, by the assessing department in this case, for the value that they were purchased for, and they're taxed based on the tax rate. So we will be receiving property tax revenue in the amount of the improvements that have been made for the installation of the solar arrays. I understand the issues with regards to the wildlife and things of that nature, and respect that. However, it sounds like the Conservation Commission has had discussions about at least the turtles or whatever other wildlife is going to walk underneath the solar arrays, because they're going to be raised up a certain amount over the bog. So, I think I understand that Plimpton needs to weigh in as well, but the town of Kingston needs to make a decision based on what they want to do with this property. If Plimpton doesn't want to exercise their right of first refusal and walk away, then I think that's an issue for the developer. But for the town, I think the town of Kingston owes the property owners a decision on how they can move forward or what they can do with their property whenever they're ready to provide that decision. And I think the Conservation Commission, while they didn't make a formal vote, they discussed it. I think Matt, and please correct me if I'm wrong, was under the very distinct impression that the Conservation Commission didn't want to recommend the board exercise the right of first refusal. The Planning Board has reviewed this plan and applied the appropriate Planning Board regulations to this the proposed development, which meets the town's needs. And the Board of Selectmen is here to decide whether or not a landlocked piece of conservation property is worth the town exercising its right refusal and purchasing that property. The town of Kingston, I don't think, wants to get into the solar array business. So this is an opportunity for the town to work with the property owners to keep this property in a fairly natural state compared to what it could be, I suppose, and allow for some sort of revenue to be gained that will provide revenue to not only the property owners, but also the town of Kingston in an area we aren't receiving any property tax revenue now. Thank you.
Did you want to respond to that?
Yeah, just to clarify, minor clarification on the commission, I'll say that that was their feeling based on my input. That was my advice to the commission after reading this notice, was that I believe the commission shouldn't be interested in this. So
And they concurred with that.
apparently they didn't. I mean,
They didn't take a formal vote.
we didn't take a formal vote, and I looked into whether we needed to, and you said we didn't, so I issued a letter. Now, maybe, somebody wasn't paying attention that night. Maybe
A lot has happened
were
between
confused about
October
it.
13th and now,
So,
so
yeah.
I understand. Hold on, Maureen wants to speak.
Hi, Maureen Clark, the Assistant Assessor. I just wanted to clarify one thing, which really isn't about whether you choose to use your option or not, but the parcels are all in chapter land, so the total acreage is in chapter land. It's not a portion of it, so if the town did decide to use its option, it would be for all of it. And that's just like when Matt was talking about the cranberries, that the cranberries are the chapter land, but the state allows us to give a lot of accessory land for water and land needed for those cranberries. So what I believe the solar company is doing is they will divide it and put some, I think for one of the parcels, it's 33 acres and 9 acres would be solar, and the rest of it will be kept in chapter. But as far as option goes, it is totally in chapter each parcel right now.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
So that's conflicting again. So what I heard previously is that we only had right on a portion, and now I'm hearing that our right is on the entire parcel. And again, that would be something that, it's not that I don't know either way. So that would be something I would like to see legal clarification on. Also, this isn't something that we can delay indefinitely. The Special Acts of 2020 gave us certain leverage in the past, but right now there's a 120-day clock that's ticking on this. If we don't take action, it automatically goes to it comes out of chapter land. So, and they can do what they want with it. So it isn't a situation where, I think people understand what they're getting into. They had a tax benefit for a certain amount of time. There's a timeline on this. We can't indefinitely hold back business. So I don't feel comfortable taking action until I at least have the clarification on if there is conservation, public benefit, and also legally, it sounds like just legal clarification on what our option actually means, since I'm hearing two different things, one from the conservation agent, one from the...
Again, I have to ask either Mr. Correa or Mr. Dunham to step up to the mic. I'm going to ask a question that you may not want to answer.
We'll ask it, then we'll see who jumps up.
Roger?
I had a spin right now.
Yeah.
I'm afraid
Roger,
to come on
when you
because
made this
I
proposal...
may say something that I shouldn't say.
No, I don't want you to say
Oh,
anything.
ask
I'm
me
just going to ask you a
questions only,
question.
and I'll go ahead.
There we
When you made this proposal, were you under the most remote idea that the town of Kingston could exercise its right and take your land away? That was not your purpose, right? Well, I don't want to answer for you.
That's correct. That's
Right?
correct, yeah. I just
It was
want to...
not to have the town of Kingston exercise their right to take your land. It was to simply do a business deal and to have the town
It is.
refuse.
I don't want to brag, but I'm the biggest solar owner in this room. I have a 12K. Anybody beat me? I didn't think so.
But I mean, that's my only
I'm a believer.
question to you,
I'm a
that the
believer.
whole proposal
Right.
was being brought to us with the intention of saying, we're not interested, go ahead with your project.
It's only, I think, in my side of the street, personally myself, I think if I can ask Ian, my if you can
Sure.
refer me to this. Is it about an
You have to ask
acre
the
of,
chair, not me.
1 acre of land of cranberry that's going to be consumed by solar on my side of the street? I think it's an acre, isn't it? Okay, it's an acre of land. 1 acre. So who am I to say? On my side of the street. Now, Wayne Dunham is on the other side of the street. He's got a little bit more. He can speak also. A lot of hypotheticals here, you know, like Pine comes up with a what if this and what if that.
Yeah, but I mean, the bottom line is that your whole idea from the beginning, when you were going to come to us for this thing, was you don't want to give up your land, right?
Not really, but I think his name is Carl.
Yes.
He's a very sharp guy. I mean, his business is business.
Yeah.
I don't think that the solar is that difficult. Pine comes up with a lot of hypotheticals, but I'm convinced. I was very impressed at the beginning when I heard about this whole program. It came from the Department of Energy and the Department of Agriculture. They designed this thing. And as I read in the Old Colony, Pine, Charlie Baker, not a kind of criticizing Charlie Baker, our governor. And, and another thing, I don't want to keep on going on and on, but the program was going to be 500 megawatts on the western part of the state and 500 megawatts on the eastern part of the state. And I don't know how they're going to do it if we keep on. I'm a believer in solar, to a degree. You know, it's not the big punch, but it's. So what can I say? I don't want to say any more because
Well,
I'm a little, obviously I'm the landowner, and I would like to sell the property.
you would.
Yeah, and I don't want to go on and on because I'll just make a mistake. But I have other property in Kingston too, and they're cranberry
Well, let's
bogs.
stay focused on this
Let
one.
me ask you a question. What happens if I come before the board and somebody wants to put solar on 106? What do you think? How would everybody respond to that?
I don't know, I think I have to
Is there
focus
going to
on
be the
this
box
one.
turtles? I just don't like the aesthetics. And that'll come up too, the aesthetics. Because we got this poll thing. Dick asked me about the polls. And Ian is going to be very frank about it. In the public eye, we're going to correct it. We're not going to, that's a mistake. That was a mistake.
Yeah. Costly.
I
Costly
think,
mistake.
So I know that property probably better than the Pine du Bois.
So
I've been there like
let's not,
20-something years.
let's not,
Okay, so anyways, I'm not going to continue.
okay.
But I
Dick,
wanna-
did you get your question answered?
Not
I'm
really.
sorry, I'm sorry, that's one of my pet peeves, not answering a question. I assumed it was going to be.
We were going to
no interest in the
refuse
town. No
to
interest in the
exercise
town.
our
It's
option
got a
to
piece
take
of-
your
it's a-
property.
It's a piece of landlocked land to add to the feature. So
All right.
Wayne Dunham, my
Neighbor,
side of the street.
neighbor. We're in a predicament, we've got to do something with the land. We're both getting up to the age that we just can't keep going. And the solar thing is the best thing for all around. Everybody wants solar, but nobody wants it in the backyard, we know that. But we're going to have to give something to get something out of this way somewhere. And it's a good starting point right here. This is a situation where the town get money from the solar and from the tax on the cranberries. What's it going to cost the town? Nothing. And it's a way of the future. It's got to be. What else is there? Roger and me are both turned 75. We've got nobody to leave the property to. What are you going to do? Just walk away from it? We've got to make a decision, and this is the best way we can make it, is this to have this go through. Thank you.
Thank you. Dick, does that help?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready
I
to
think
get
I'd like to
something here.
get, hold on, I'd like to get Jim Franklin, because he hasn't spoken yet. Jim, you're on.
Hi, Jim Franklin, 53 Winthrop.
Hold on, your audio quality's a little poor. Say that again?
Jim Franklin, 53 Winthrop. Is that better?
Yeah, it's a little better.
Okay. So I think it's just important to clarify that if there's a 61A parcel that has an intent to convert, that the town has the right to purchase it, right? It doesn't mean that they're going to purchase it, right? They have the right of first refusal. So to get to a right of first refusal decision, I think you have to have the right people review it. Now, I don't I recall about a 3-second, maybe 30-second, maybe a minute statement from Matt, just as a FYI. The town did receive our notice of first refusal packet, but we never actually got that packet. We never discussed that packet. I haven't looked at anything about this, so I'm on here more to just kind of get information than anything else, Kim. So when it comes down to, hearing that the conservation decided that we didn't want this property, that we passed on it, wasn't worth saving, maybe we come to that conclusion after next week or the week after, right? But to say that we can get there without actually having that public hearing, I don't know. I don't know that that was the right step for us, and I think we'll learn a lesson from this. And it sounds like Matt was doing the right thing. He got guidance from town administrator. Town administrator said, no, you can just write this based on what conversations you've had to date. So I don't know that I love that part of it. So to Dickie's, side of it, no one's taken this land. The town already put up their piece of the pie, paying, with the owners paying a reduced tax. So I just want to kind of be clear on what's in front of us, right? So we essentially have a right, and we might not use that right. We might use that right, but I haven't heard anybody come in front that and speak tonight that basically said they knew all the right answers. They asked all the right questions. They had the discussions with town council. There's nothing that we can do on this land. There's no benefit to it. So let's let it go. Nobody has said any of that. So I think that I would just say, look, if you feel like you're going down the hill too fast, you hit the brakes a little bit. You might get to the bottom of the hill no matter what. You might take a right turn, you might take a left turn. But if you run down the hill without brakes on, you might hit something at the end of it, and it might be something that you otherwise could avoid. So I would just say that, if we have a little bit more time, we're not really killing anybody. We did invest as a town a lot into these parcels as a agricultural open space. We should talk about it. And I'm going to say, I might even be the guy who says, no, this is really the smart thing to do because of the solar aspect. But until we actually, I think I would have liked some questions answered before I got into, tonight's meeting that I just didn't have. So I think that's what I want you guys to kind of hear from my side of it. So.
Okay. All right. Nobody else getting up here. Tree, I'll give you another quick second.
Thanks, it's Nathan again.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. I just wanted to clarify a couple things. I heard that the town buying the land would be considered taking the land from the landowner, and I don't think that's true. The landowner would be paid and paid the same amount from the town as they would be by another buyer. Another thing I want to clarify is that a decision from the Board of Selectmen is expected on this decision, but it's not expected tonight. The law does allow 120 days to review this sort of scenario for a good reason, because there's probably a lot of moving parts. So I'm not advocating that we need to take all the time, but I'm advocating that we take some of that time and put it to good use. So I, again, ask you not to vote tonight. Thanks.
Okay. All right.
He brought up a very good point. Ooh, wait a minute. He brought up a very good point.
Yes?
There's no dollar amount for anything, anybody wanting to sell a piece of land.
It's actually, there is. It's in there.
Doesn't say Mr. Career and his partner are interested in selling their land, and would the town like to exercise their right to buy it?
In the letter, hold on one second, let me pull it back up again.
Okay, because it doesn't say it here.
It says that the seller hereby notifies you of its intent to sell approximately 77,565 square feet of the property for commercial solar energy use. And then there's more there. There is a dollar amount somewhere. I did see it. I just can't. Where is it? Page 2. There it is. Yep. The portion of the purchase price allowable, that piece, converted land, is approximately $71,225.90.
But then to
It
what?
doesn't say he wants to sell it. Excuse me, Jeff.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, no,
Did
no,
you
no.
miss the part in the
No, go
beginning
ahead.
where he said, is planning to sell the
Every 61
property?
year we've done, it's they want to sell it. Do we want to buy it?
As the assessor said, her opinion on it, though, is that this wouldn't, it's not just that portion that we would have our option on, it would be the full parcel.
No, she said the full parcel is in chapter land, but they're only selling a portion of it.
Wait, that's,
They're selling the whole parcel. Only a portion of it is being changed.
All right, somebody come back up.
In both cases, the whole parcel is in Chapter 61 and has been in Chapter 61. As a result of whatever deal was made for the solar, the properties are being sold in their entirety to the solar developer. There's only a portion of that that's being taken out of 61A. So I don't know if it's like a subdivision, however it's done, but a portion of the parcel that is going to contain the solar panels is coming out of Chapter 61. That triggers the right of first refusal on that portion of the property, which would at that point be a different property, I imagine, because it would have to be split. The
Right.
rest of the property is going to stay within 61A, but be owned by Ring Road LLC, Ring Road Solar LLC.
but anytime chapter land is transferred, we have an option on that entire land, so whether or not, I don't think, I mean, you can speak.
Oh, sorry. Needs to
Sorry.
go to the microphone.
We don't have an option if it's staying in chapter land. So it is a little confusing with this parcel because they are selling the whole parcel, which is 33 acres. Their intent right now, which, whether it stays that way, is about 11 acres becoming solar, and the solar company is planning on keeping the remainder land in chapter land. So if anyone has a parcel and they want to sell it and they sell it to someone else who is going to keep it in chapter land, they sign an affidavit, give it to me, and the town does not have the right of first refusal, nor is there a rollback.
Right.
So I'm not sure, like Matt said, maybe talk to council to see how that would work where it's mixed.
If the board exercised their right of first refusal, I'm not recommending that, I'm just playing this scenario out. If we exercised our right of first refusal, it would be on those 11 acres that would be changing out of the chapter land, not the full entire parcel. So you'd essentially be carving out 11 acres that's
Would they have
landlocked.
to come back to us? And if they wanted to put more solar on there, would they have to come back and say, it has to come out of 61? Let's say they decide to put all solar on there. Would they have to come back to us and ask us again to do that? Like, okay, they're only using 11 acres now. Let's say they decide, if they're buying the whole property, the thought is they might put solar on the whole property, let's just say. Do they have to come back and say, now we want to put?
No, as long
No,
as they
'cause
keep
they
it in
own
chapter
it.
land, we have no
I'm saying, but
say
they
in
have to
the
take it
matter.
back out to put solar on, so would they have to come back to us again and say, now I want to put another 10 acres, and now I want to put another 10 acres? Because
They're taking it out of chapter land?
Because they only did it to do that 10 right now, but they're buying the whole property. If a solar company is buying 77 acres and only putting 11 acres right now, the thought is, why would they, they're not cranberry growers, they just made a cranberry growing company. So my thought is, yeah, that's fine, but I'm just saying,
But they have to maintain it, though.
they're maintaining it for now, but I'm saying, like, are they gonna just
So,
keep building it? Do we have a chance to just,
What's the town going to do with a cranberry bog?
no, I'm saying, I don't want a
That's the- I
cranberry,
mean,
I'm
that's
just
the-
saying, like, it's right now, it's
With
this,
this,
but
with
it's
this,
gonna
with
be,
us
we could get more
waiving this
money.
action, with us waiving this action, we are keeping the cranberry bog active.
For now, but we could
What's
have more solar panels there as well.
What?
I'm just saying.
Can I
Yes,
answer the
please.
question to the best of my knowledge? Because that was a concern for me when we first got these notices. My thought was like, wow, we just approved all this bog solar, and now are they going to try to put solar all the way around them? And my understanding now is that's not true. They would have to then go through the planning and conservation process again, because all that was approved was the project as it is currently designed, bog, solar, and nothing else. So if they did want to go through and build anything else on there, they do have to go back through the town permitting process.
So yeah, so in theory, if instead of so now we waive this right of first refusal on the 11 acres, and they buy the whole parcel, and then 5 years from now, they want to put solar on 10 more acres. It's the same thing. They'd have to be taking it out of chapter land. We would again have the right of first refusal at that point on that piece, and so on and so on.
I don't think you'd have the right of first refusal because they already own all the land, so they're not selling it.
Unless they were selling it.
Correct.
Right, okay.
But they would have to come before the boards for permits and to put more solar on it.
So the engineer wants to.
Quick clarification to that. In that scenario where they're going to, now, unless it was considered to be another dual-use project, which it likely wouldn't unless it was going to be on top of the solar bogs, then that would qualify as pulling it out of agricultural use. So
okay.
In that case, that would trigger the town's right of first refusal. But then at that point, you're buying property that already has a industrial solar complex on it.
Just a point of clarification.
Please.
We're talking about on 137 Ring Road, it's 1.78 acres. On 126 Ring Road, it's 9.4 acres. Cumulatively, we're talking about 11 acres. But just wanted to clarify, we're talking about two different properties. So you add up that's the total impact.
But are they buying 77,000? I thought they were buying 77,000. They're buying the whole property of 77,000.
Microphone.
Yeah. But aren't they buying the whole property of 410 acres, or 410 acres and 77,000 acres? I thought they were building, they're essentially getting 500, like they're getting more acreage than just the 10 acres that they're going to put the solar panels on. They're going to own all of that.
So there's the purchase or the sale of the entire parcel, right? And then there's the conversion. The area that's going to be converted would come out of 61A. So that's the smaller footprint. So to the point before, if there was another conversion made, you'd have to come back and take it out of 61A.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Okay, Jim, one more, and then we're done.
Okay, Jim Franklin, 53 Winthrop. So something to keep in mind is that when you own the land and you take it out of chapter land, you can maintain its current use for, I think, a year, pay some rollback taxes, and then you can actually take it out for good, and it doesn't go to the town as a process. So I think that's really why people are a little nervous when this type of conversion comes up and nobody really discusses it beforehand. You know, I don't think if you had everybody write down on a piece of paper, how big is this parcel? I don't think more than one or two people in this whole conversation would get it right. So I'm just saying that I think we got to just pump the brakes a little bit on this one. We might get exactly where we want to be, and I think that based on what I heard from everybody likes the smart solar program. There's a process it goes through. However, shoehorning something in real quick, before it's really discussed or vetted is one of those things where that's not going to suit anybody well. We might get it right, we might get it wrong. So I would just advise caution.
All right, so we have two options at this point. We can close the public hearing, we can continue it to a date and time certain.
I would like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye, no.
Yeah, no, whatever.
Sheila, where do you stand? You got to pick one. Are you abstaining?
My issue is, it's just, I'm having a hard time just because I know that it's 11 acres now, but it could be more later. And,
middle of a vote.
I know. No.
All right, so that motion fails. Would someone like to make a motion to continue the public hearing to a date and time certain?
I move to continue the public hearing to the December 14th meeting. In order to gather more information.
December 14th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Okay. All right, so that's a motion to continue. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
Okay. Ayes have it, so we're continued.
Hopefully until December 14th.
All right.
Thank you.
We just Do we just send you?
That was more than I thought it was going to be.
We need to go home. Can we move up?
Yeah, we have everybody who wants to go home.
Everybody's here, I know.
So I think that piece is done for now, okay? Thank you so much. All right, so next is,
There's so much.
all right, can I take the additional item number 1 out of order? It's a high, do you mind? The waterways, I think, is going to take a little bit of time. Do you all mind that? No? Okay. So I'm just going to move ahead to additional item number 1, which is the hiring of the public health nurse. So this is a new wage and personnel position. It was voted on, it was approved by town meeting and then voted on in the last selectmen meeting. And following the recruitment process, the Board of Health is recommending Leanne McGinnis. So I understand we have a few people here from the Board of Health and the Health Department. So I don't know if someone wants to speak to it. I don't have any objection to it. I don't know if anyone else does.
It's
but
in their budget.
If you want to say something, that's fine. Since you sat through all of that, I figured you might want to say something.
Bill Caval, Town and Country Estates. There's 300 of us. All these better remember that. Me and Mr. Rudiv have had probably many nurses since Vietnam. And I didn't have many because I was there early because I volunteered. But this lady that we've picked and you've picked is fantastic. In Kingston right now, she's given 1,169 shots to people. Right now, we got 139 positive cases. How many would we have without her? There's no telling. The bad rates are kids a lot. I don't know why. Daycare, things like that, affecting it, I think. But that's all I want to say, and I'm glad that you all picked her because she's fantastic, and I've never seen anybody, including anybody, work as hard as she has in the last couple of months to who knows how many people she might have saved, given all these shots and finding volunteers and doctors to help her for nothing. So thanks a lot for picking her, and we appreciate it in the town.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
All right.
If I may just share a quick story.
Sure.
I went on Saturday to get my booster through the clinic, and I thanked the nurse that was giving me the booster for volunteering. She didn't know who I was from a hole in the wall. And her first reaction was, she's like, don't thank me. You should thank the Kingston Public Health nurse because she's a true rock star and a true inspiration to us all. And she was saying what a great leader she was. And I know that, as Mr. Caval said, that over almost 1,200 vaccines have been put into arms because of the work she's done. So we've been lucky to have her on as a consultant so far. So I really am happy that she wants to stay on board and be a hire.
Great.
I'll make a motion because she called me and she actually called me myself personally because, sometimes. Also she has done a great job on the intermediate school. They have been sold out. So it's been awesome. Sold out on the vaccine. Not really sold out, but not a concert. I move the Board of Selectmen appoint Leanne McGinnis into the less than part-time public health nurse, a grade C1 non-exempt position as part of the wage and personnel with the Board of Health with anticipated start date of December 6, 2021, subject to the following conditions. Provision of the necessary identification forms to satisfy the requirements of the U.S. Immigration Reform Act, satisfactory query check, satisfactory letter from your primary care physician stating that you can perform the functions of the position based on the job description, successful completion of a 6-month probationary period.
Second.
All those sorry.
Before we do that, this is part of their budget, correct? This is in their budget. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. It was.
Someone
It was
second
it was approved in the budget prior to when we even opened the hiring for it. So I feel like we've discussed the public health nurse position for a while. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, I think I heard 500, so.
It should have been 5.
I think
There's
I heard
5 of us still here.
I'm pretty sure I
There's
heard
5 of us.
Although I did say
All
I was
right,
leaving at
great.
7.
All set, unless you want to come to the mic and say things, but you didn't.
Thank you for all
certainly
you've
don't
done.
have
Been
to.
amazing
So far, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to continue to take things slightly out of order. I'm just going to take the last additional item next, and then we're going to jump to the beginning. So we'll get that done. So number 9, which is the acceptance of resignation of the Waterfront Committee, and then we're going to follow that with the appointment to the Waterfront Committee. So we had Robert Short, who resigned, and then we have Aaron Benoit Berry, who we're going to appoint. So if someone could do both of those.
Sure. I move the Board of Selectmen accept the resignation of Robert Short from the Waterfront Committee effective immediately.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. On to 10.
I move the Board of Selectmen appoint the following to the Waterfront Committee: Aaron Benoit Berry immediately through June 2022.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. So Erin should be all set. She doesn't have to listen to our meeting anymore if she doesn't want to.
Thank you so much.
But she can, because Waterfront's about to be highlighted. All right, so I'm moving back to the appointment number 3, which was the Kingston Harbor and Waterways Regulations. So Jared, would you like to state your name and address and then give us a summary?
Jared Wakus, 15 Village Path, Vice Chairman of the Waterfront Committee. We're here today to talk about approving a new set of harbor and waterways regulations. The former, or the current regulations are quite outdated, not really up with the times and with surrounding towns. We started this process in May of this year. First step was going through, I would say, all the towns south of Hingham down to the canal, reviewing all their regulations, picking out the parts that were good, putting those together. We've had, I would say, 3 or 4 public forums or hearings within the Waterfront Committee. We met with Mr. Hickey. I think you were at one meeting. We've had town council review it. Basically, summary of changes. We cleaned up language throughout the document. We updated language. Residents and real estate taxpayers will be given preference to all slips, racks, and moorings. Town-owned slips, racks, and moorings can be transferred to immediate family only, so it'd be a spouse, partner, or children. Slips, racks, or moorings, including private moorings, will be considered forfeited, abandoned, without payment of all fees by May 15th of each year. Due date for fees is May 1st, so there's a 15-day grace period. Private moorings must be ordered and installed by an authorized mooring service provider. We've added steps for new private moorings and new language for Section B, page 3. Section D, we've added a whole entire section for authorized mooring service provider. And then Appendix A, which is the fees. As we all know, the storms are getting more intense, more severe, and what we have for equipment down there takes a beating, and it doesn't last very long. So we're looking to increase our fees to generate more monies for the Waterways Fund, and these are still within or under every town surrounding Kingston. And then we've added Appendix B, which is updating the specs, and then Appendix C, which is just a picture to show the waterfront area as we define it in the document. One change to the document that you received for review, Appendix B, per the Harbor Master, we added number 8. Pyramid moorings are preferred over concrete block type moorings, and see Harbor Master for specifications and requirements. So now I would say most of the towns around us are using pyramid moorings, and that includes the U.S. Coast Guard as well. That's it for the changes. I was going to do track changes, but it was so extensive that a summary was all I could do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for all of the work that you guys have done on this. I understand it's been a process. I know there were a couple of additional questions that had come up since I think your last meeting. One of them was on, let's see, hold on, under private moorings in number 2, whether or not something like any transfer of moorings shall not exceed the replacement value of the equipment or mooring, which seems to be standard language in other towns, but this is why we have an advisory committee. As you know, I'm not well versed in these, so I'm open to your thoughts, and I didn't know if your committee had discussed that.
I don't know if we have to say value to it.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It has
Heather,
come up, so I thought I would mention it.
I think it's pretty standard. I mean, right now, the gear would be a concrete block,
Okay,
chain, and that's it.
okay.
So it'd be
All
pretty,
right.
You have the definitions of what.
yeah, pretty definitive too.
Yeah.
That was the question you had brought up. Did you want to come up to the microphone and explain why you were thinking that? I'm not saying we should necessarily add it, I'm just bringing it up for discussion.
My name's Harry Barnett, 30 Bayview Ave. I service about 100 private moorings in town. I'm kind of the go-to guy. By the way, I love 99.9% of everything they did here. It works now. I brought this to their attention back in May that we had lots of outdated stuff, and it's been fixed. So this is a good job. But I haven't been able to attend the last two meetings, so I kind of missed out on a few things. I brought two little quirky things to your attention tonight, and this is one of them. The Plymouth, I believe this is the way the Plymouth Harbor works. When they sell a mooring within the harbor, because it's within the harbor, they're privately maintained by the person that has the boat on it. In other words, they pay for having the chain put on it, they pay for the ball, they pay for their ropes, and they contract out with a private company over there, and they go down and they do the chain replacements and the maintenance on it. But when that person gets out of boating and it's time to pass it on to the next person, they assign a value to that mooring block for that equipment. You know, if the chain was just replaced, well, that's great chain, that's $300 worth of chain that's on there. If it needs total replacement and it's ready to rot away, you know, it's got $0. So what we're trying to do is put a one-line amendment in here that says any transfer of moorings shall not exceed replacement value of equipment on the moorings. The reason I say that is if you don't have something like that written in there in the language, you now have like a bidding war of people trying to sell their moorings, their private moorings. It could get out of control quickly. I already have one client, because he has a $400 block of cement out there that's in total need of all replaced chains and new equipment. He thinks he can get $2,000 for it because it's close to a boat ramp and easy accessibility. I don't agree with trying to make it into a for-profit. Whoever the highest bidder is gets the mooring block. And
So does it sound like it's more about the slip and the placement than it is about the mooring? So you really should be, it's about what it would cost to replace the mooring, and these people are making it about where they're actually located?
correct, or even having the ability to have a mooring. Right now, the town harbor master has actually put a moratorium on installing new moorings. He doesn't want to keep, you know, adding and adding and adding and adding. And I kind of get it. You know, let's try to use the resources we have. But as soon as you do that, and like say you bought a piece of property on Shore Drive and you're looking out your house and you want to put a mooring there, but the harbor master says no more new moorings, but we got one quarter mile down the street here, you know, off of someone else's house, you know, we could put you on. You know, it now becomes, you know, kind of a supply and demand issue, you know.
Yeah.
If you got a mooring, it's very valuable. If I emailed 100 of my clients tonight and said, hey, there's a moratorium on moorings, your moorings are going to go through the roof prices, you might want to hang on to them. I wouldn't do that, but there's a possibility.
My question for this specific edit, this one suggested edit is, well, I'm assuming the Waterfront Committee hasn't weighed in on this, so we only have 2 members.
Briefly talked about it.
So we don't have enough to say it's an official recommendation from them. So the question just becomes, at least in my perspective, what impact would this have? Do we think we could potentially foresee an issue with adding that?
I just foresee an issue of it becoming like a bidding war of people.
Right, I was just wondering from
Jump in.
Yeah, I think this is so benign that we would feel supportive of it. It's really just taking, so you can't say, well, this is in a perfect location, it's $10,000. It's the current rate of the materials for that mooring.
Okay.
So it would be standard across.
And then can you explain Harry, the second edit that you had requested on A5? Did you want to take this back? You dropped it off earlier.
Yep. Bear with me here. I gave you the good copies.
You can take it.
Okay.
You can take it.
Here, Mark.
Go ahead.
Me too. I have 2 pens.
8.5 is, just to read it, a slip, a rack, or mooring, including private moorings, location is deemed forfeited or abandoned without payment of all fees by May 15th. I wrote this up. This makes sense for the town moorings or racks or slips, as we have an active waiting list. When you have a private mooring, there's really no super need to, find out when you have to pay it by. But with that, I get that the town wants to get paid. They put a 15-day grace period on being late. So due by May 1st, by the 15th, it's considered, now the town's property. They're basically confiscating, potentially a $1,300 piece of private property from someone. In a nutshell, what I'm asking for is just a little due process on this. Send out a certified letter with clear and specific instructions to the person notifying that the town is going to be taking their property on that 15th. And then, if they, after they receive that certified letter, 30 days goes by and they don't want to pay for their mooring, then let the town take it. I just want a certified letter with the town's intentions on what they're doing with that mooring. And it's from my understanding, this year they're going to be sending out multiple letters between January and May notifying people, but it's future years too. I don't want to be here 2 years from now saying, well, they only sent out one notice and this guy has no idea. So, but a certified letter is also required by the harbor master if your gear is not up to date or something. So it doesn't seem like a far stretch to ask for a certified letter with their intentions.
Tyler, do you want to speak to his concern?
Thank you. Tyler Bouchard, 217 Partings Ways Road, also chair of the Waterfront Committee. So in previous years, this has been, May 1st has been the deadline. So in our current laws, it says by May 1st, you lose your mooring, slip, rack, or fee. In reality, this is actually kind of an extension of good faith. We're giving out in January the ability to, May 1st kind of seems like you get it on May 1st, and if you don't pay it by then May 15th. Really, you have the ability to pay it in January. So you get your new application in January. In this new application, you also get the new rules and regulations stating what is going to be required, that we will be enforcing the May 1st and the May 15th. So in reality, we're actually extending the current law 15 days as a grace period. Also, we're planning on doing a letter in February, March, and April explaining with the new laws and regulations that you need to have this paid. If you do not pay by May 1st, you'll be getting, within a few days, you'll be getting a letter you'll be getting a personal call from the harbor master's office. I feel like this is a decent amount of information that you can pay in 5 months with a 15-day grace period, but you can pay by January 15th or January 20th or January 31st or February 15th. So you have a significant amount of time. We're actually extending that time. It just hasn't been enforced properly in the past. So I see this as really almost actually extending a hand, and we're really trying to put out notice to the town that we have rules here and they need to be met because there's a waiting list, there's people who haven't been using them. This is kind of a cleanup process. And are there a ton of people that haven't done it? No. But this is the process that we want to go about it, and I feel like the harbor master has a very good plan in place to give information to the town.
To be clear, you don't pay your fee and the mooring doesn't belong to you anymore is not new, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's what I thought. I didn't think it was a new policy.
Just to be clear, private moorings in the past have been an assessed value of $7 per foot. If you use your boat, say you have a 20-foot boat, $7 a foot, you pay the town $140 for that year. That's the current law. If you do not put your boat on it with a current law, it's $7 a foot, and that's 7 times 0. So for many of my clients, for many years, they have not been paying a fee to the town because there has been no boat on it. Now, this has been a bit of contention with the harbor master, because he interprets it that you have to pay for your mooring, and it's due by May 1st. And I've heard crazy things like, well, whatever boat they owned in the past, even if they sold it, that's what they have to pay. We came up with a solution for the current laws to have at least a $50 minimum waterways fee assessed. So that's the new fee. That's due by May 1st.
So that addresses that inconsistency.
Correct.
Okay.
And the notice that they're going through and they've talked about for doing with the harbor master this year, that's great. I was unaware of that. However, I just ask that in future years, there's the same type of notice or something, or what I call due process. If you get taken someone's personal property, at least send them a certified letter saying, hey, we're taking your personal property, you've abandoned it, you haven't paid your late fee, you haven't paid your mooring fee, it's going to be ours, this is the process, this is what's happening. Too many times you get an answering machine, letters don't get answered, you get a certified letter, you sign for it, and you pay attention to it when it comes in the mail. So that's where I'm at.
From either Jared or Tyler, is the intent for that communication to remain the same every year? So applications going out in January and...
It's not in writing.
Well, it says you can pay. So the reason I'm asking is applications for moorings in Kingston Harbor and waterways shall be submitted and paid to the harbor master on forms approved by the harbor master prior to May 1st, but no earlier than January 1st of that year. To me, that sounds like starting in January, that goes out, but it might be nice to have that cleared up.
The communication sent out with the card that, you send back with the payment. I don't know if we'll send letters every month, every year, because once the first year, you're going to have these regulations and be expected to follow them. I can tell you Plymouth, at 11:59, if you don't pay, it's gone. I've lived through it. I was on a mooring list there for years and years, and I missed one day, and I called up and, nope, you're off. And that's just how it is, black and white. I will say we're not, the town of Kingston, when taking this, personal property, bottom line, you're basically putting your property on a chunk of Kingston land. It's like a boot on a car on the side of the road. And we're going to have a private mooring waiting list now. So when we take that property, it goes to the next person on the waiting list, and they become responsible, and they pay the town for it. But bottom line, it's basically dead weight on Kingston property that we're trying to figure out a solution to let more residents use the waterways.
Okay. Go ahead, Jess.
So a prior version of the waterways regulations, and I can't find it, so forgive me if it's like a few versions ago, but...
We had like 40 versions.
Stated who was eligible for private moorings, and it defined it as like if you had a waterfront property, or if you're on a public ramp, the road with a public ramp, and that language isn't in here anymore, correct? Is that...
That was a part of a discussion. We never had it in there, but we do say you have to be a real estate or taxpayer in the town of Kingston. So in the past, there have been out-of-town residents that had moorings. So for now on, you'll have to be a taxpayer or a resident of the town of Kingston.
Discretion of the harbor master, he kind of sifts through that.
I don't think we took out discretion. I mean, everything's at the discretion of the harbor master, but
Absolutely, I
we
understand
say
that.
the preferences.
Sifts through that.
Yeah.
I definitely, well, it was presented to me in the past, and I think the way it was the prior way it was conducted is that there was preference, or at least there was some expectation that if you had a waterfront property, you would have a mooring or the ability to get a mooring, or if you're on a public boat ramp road, you'd have that too. But that's no longer, now it's even waterfront properties and public boat ramp roads are equal to every other resident in town. Is that how I'm understanding the new rules?
That's what it is now. And I think I don't live on the water, but I still think I should get fair share of the resources of the town.
I recall Mr. Whittaboni, when he was here speaking with us, or maybe it was at the meeting. And he said he has deeded land rights to, I forgot how far out on the water he said, that's his land, not the town of Kingston. So if all those moorings in front of his house are private and they're on his land, how are you going to exercise it?
In my opinion, this is two separate issues. If you're a landowner that can prove that you have deeded rights to the lower water means mark, you can come to the town and make that, have that discussion with the harbor master. I think that's fair if you're, I think that's for waterfront, people that have deeded rights to that, like Mr. Goodaboni or some people that live there. I think those are two separate issues. I think that's a landowner issue where their land is jetting out into which is waters that are no longer ours. This is for waterways that is under the town of Kingston. So if that's your private property, you have the right to come down to, you still have to abide by certain rules, upon, which the harbor can still, what size of block and size of chain, things of that nature for safety reasons. And you'd still have to put an application through the harbor master, but you have the right to come down there and to make that case. But these are two separate issues as far as landowners versus private mooring lists.
So how are they private moorings, though, if it seems like more of a public mooring if it can be in any public waterway? Maybe it's just a matter of definition that I'm not fully understanding, so.
We've just had, there's been public, there's been town-owned moorings and there's been private moorings for a long, long time. Most of the towns have gone away with that due to dredging and certain other updates. So I believe if a town is taking a certain amount of dredge money from the state or the federal government, within that region, I believe they have to turn those over into town-owned moorings. We don't have that, and so we're kind of in the old west a little bit in that regard. So pretty much within, as you can see on the map, within most of the Jones River, that is town-owned, and then outside of Grace Beach, everything out there is private, and it's been like that for a long time. So we're just trying to clean up language that allows this to be for, in the future, for taxpayers and landowners, and to be able to have a list that is fair for anybody that's in town.
Okay. I have a question on page 4. It says on under D, all areas, number 7, it asks for home and business address. Should that be or? Just a minor, not everyone's going to have a business address, right?
Correct. Okay. Yeah, we can change that to or.
And then on the last page, under number 5, it asks that all mooring service providers submit a mooring service provider annual status report annually. Do you have anything that says what that's supposed to look like? Do they already do that?
We have templates for
Okay, perfect.
all the forms, and I can submit that.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that they knew what they were expected to submit.
Yep,
That's
so
all.
once these
Perfect.
are approved, all those templates and forms will be updated on the town website.
Perfect. Excellent. And then I have minor grammatical and typo things, but we're not going to go through those. I'm assuming the board doesn't care about that stuff. Just me.
So if a private mooring that's like in front of someone's property is to a resident that doesn't live near there, or have access to there through a public ramp, how would they get to their mooring in their boat? They come through the town, through the arena and take a shuttle there?
I mean, theoretically, yeah, they would have to come from the town landing. Or, I mean, you could put a kayak in at Grays Beach and paddle to your mooring. That's sort of why they're all private out there, because it's a hindrance to get to those moorings from anywhere.
Right. Okay.
Anyone else
I'm
have
happy
any
making a
questions
motion,
or
so.
concerns? Anything that anyone's concerned about? I mean, we can always amend these later as things change, as if we find out that something
Exactly.
isn't working well, it's not like this is set in stone forever. So
I agree. This is the big change, and then there'll probably be areas that we say this is not functional, and we'll make an update next year.
Right. So we can amend and change as needed. Dick, any questions? You're good? Dickie? No? Maybe?
good, thank
Good.
you.
Okay.
I move the Board of Selectmen adopt the amended waterways regulation presented this evening.
As amended.
It says the amended.
I know, but like
Waterways.
typos and other things that we're going to fix later.
And to just be clear, that includes the price point that was brought
My
up.
That's in
motion
here
would
now.
not have included that.
So that's what I'm trying to understand for clarification.
And that's why I was saying as amended, because it's going to include the language for items that,
Yep, so page 4.
Yes.
The top section, there'll be number 7. We'll add the language about the market value for the mooring.
It's like lobster, market value,
Okay.
right?
so John made the motion. Is there a second?
Okay.
Second.
Wait, I'm
Did you
still
need to
looking
say
for
something else?
clarification.
Hold on, we're holding.
And the change that we submitted, the pyramid moorings.
Oh, yeah, this one, the yellow, that's as
new thing.
presented. Yep,
Perfect.
right there. Yep. Well, and you'll get my little marked up version too. All right, all those in favor?
Can you explicitly,
Oh,
though, just so
sorry.
I just want, because I'm still a little foggy on this, so.
Sure.
We've just got multiple versions. So
So-
you said as presented, but there's also.
As presented,
amended.
there's like missing commas, inconsistent
Okay.
formatting, things like that.
So we're
Harbor
not
master in some
considering-
places, harbor master in other places.
So this, as far as making sure there's not this big secondary market for, the language that was suggested, that's not in here?
That
No,
one
not my
line
motion.
there.
But I'm saying he's saying that's not in his
No,
motion.
not
so-
with my motion.
You're not adding these?
No.
Oh, okay.
They
There's
didn't
that-
sound, well, first off, the board's not here, so they can't really vote on them. And the second thing, they sounded like they didn't want to do anyways, so.
All right, so he's saying
I would
as
say that-
is without the edits. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No.
Yeah, no. I mean,
Okay.
I agree with this in general. I just think that I agree with the point about the.
We want it as,
prices.
so do you want to make a different motion, Jess?
With both or with one of the update? That's what I mean, like, I don't know why these can't just.
Approved as discussed in this meeting would cover what they said they believe the harbor master is on board with. What do you want to do?
Say something?
Yeah,
We are an advisory committee.
that's correct.
We make, our vote is to push up the chain. Things can be changed in this public forum, and I expected a
They
few
report
things
to
would
us.
be. That's my only take on it. I can't speak for the rest of the committee, but these are fairly minor changes.
Mm-hmm.
And also, after 6 months of deliberation, I think that these are fairly minor. Also, we are an advisory committee, and I was fully expecting that at least one or two things would be changed at this format, if that helps at all.
It does.
Thank you.
So, Jess or Sheila, I guess I can make motions too, but would anyone like to make a motion to approve the updated regulations as amended and discussed in this forum?
Yes, I'll make a motion.
You need it to be more specific than
Well,
that.
just to
So
include.
does that include both or just one?
A certified letter, due process, and
I didn't think that they were on board with that, so I was saying
yeah.
as,
then the other one.
no, only with the,
So I think,
Not exceeding the cost of replacement.
any transfer of mooring shall not exceed the replacement value of the equipment or mooring.
yep, so I think our recommendation would be approve it with the language you just spoke, the pyramid moorings, and then the grammatical typos.
Yes, that.
I'm going to say so moved.
Is there a second?
So to be clear, we're not including the thing about the process that was proposed.
Correct.
We're only doing the grammatical errors, the cost of replacement, and the pyramid.
Correct.
Those three. And then if need be later, we can come back and they can go to waterfront. And if they need to come back again,
Great.
they come back again.
If there isn't a second, I will second it.
That's fine. Yeah, I can second it. Just because this is up for further review. Correct. I mean,
No,
not
this
review.
is us
I understand
making it
that, but if
official.
they have to
This
come
is
back-
us stamping
I
it
don't
with
know.
these changes.
Yep. You can make a second then.
Okay, seconded. All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so 3-2.
What?
Thank you.
Oh, two were opposed.
Okay. And do you want,
Thank you guys for your hard work. I'm not trying to oppose the sentiment of what you guys are trying to do. I really appreciate all the work
Doing
that
an
went into
amazing
it.
job, by the way.
send me the Word version.
If anything, these guys need to be commended.
They're doing a great job.
Great job.
And they're trying to make things better. I definitely see this as.
Can't wait to
Everyone's
hear
been
about
very
the boat
patient
ramp.
with our very long discussions tonight. All right, moving on.
Thank you.
Gosh, it's never ending. Number 2, approval of annual license renewals. So we have a long list of renewals that hopefully everyone has reviewed. One pending item is we have some outstanding questions on the Indian Pond Country Club licenses, so I just ask that we hold those aside for a couple weeks, and we can review them at our next meeting. So someone would need to move to remove those from this
Yes,
particular meeting?
if that's the intent of the board,
Is
yes.
that going to affect them?
No, they have we have till the end of the year to renew. I
Okay.
have some outstanding questions I'd like some answers to before that.
And I'd also like to hold off on action until we hear in the pending, well, I guess, never mind.
They're separate, yeah.
I know they're separate, but, okay.
I move to remove Indian Pond Country Club Grill Room, Indian Pond Function Room, and the Indian Pond Members Pub, and Indian Pond Pool.
There's no.
From the list of the recommended licenses, no? I see pool. Okay, well, sorry, I was reading from my list. From the list of recommended license renewals being considered this evening.
So, and I apologize for clarification. So, Indian Pond is seeking to have their applications approved for a number of items, including liquor. I think the questions, are specifically regarding the liquor license.
Correct.
So what I would, if that is in fact the case, what I would suggest to the board is a motion just to table the discussion on the Indian Pond liquor licenses, which there are 3 of. The pool has other licenses that are not alcohol-related.
Okay, so yes, my question for the board is whether we could remove the liquor license from discussion for tonight.
Yes.
But Indian Pond food, victular entertainment, anything like that, whatever is in here is.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say so moved?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Perfect.
Is there a second to set those aside for second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Great. Now, we have a long list, which I don't think we have to read the entire list. We can just say, does anyone have any questions or concerns with any of the other businesses listed for license renewals? Any other questions that haven't been answered? I don't have any, but I just want to
Great
make sure.
job by the admins on all this work.
I know.
Woo.
Hey, we're the ones that have to sign.
All right, great.
All right.
No questions or concerns?
Do we want to say the names of them or not?
No, you don't have to.
Okay.
I move the Board of Selectmen approve the annual licenses as printed in the agenda amendment.
Addendum.
Blah, blah. It's late.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I'm recusing myself just because I don't want to take them one by one.
Okay. All right, so that's 401. Okay. Wow, that was nice. I like that better. Okay, acceptance of donations to Veterans Department. Anyone want to make a motion on that? Anyone want to read some donations?
I move that the Board of Selectmen accept the following donations to the Veterans Department. $700 donation from an anonymous donor, $3,548 donation from Arbor Hills Neighborhood Association, a $100 donation from an anonymous donor, and a $50 donation in grocery gift cards from Mary and Carl Nickerson.
Wow. Second.
Second.
Great.
That's wonderful.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much for those generous donations. It's wonderful. Okay, now we're going to set the town meeting date. So according to the bylaw, it's supposed to be the first Saturday in April, but it, as you can see from the history provided, hasn't really gone that way. I'm setting aside 2020 because that was a different year all entirely. But as you know, this year was May 22nd, 2019, May 4th, 2018, May 5th, 2017, May 23rd. So the question just becomes, elections typically happen in April, which means if you have the town meeting in May, you have potentially new board trying to present the articles. So if we want to have, ensure that well, I guess, here's my question for Keith. By having town meeting that early in April, does it make your life and the administration's life more difficult because you may not have as much time?
It is early, but I don't think it's going to cause me any issues. My hope is that on December 14th, I'm going to present my budget to the Board of Selectmen, and you can then hold whatever budget meetings you want to ultimately make a decision on what budget you want to present to the Finance Committee. So it's early. You know, we don't have state revenues. We don't have retirement fees. We don't have health insurance rates. We don't have a lot of things right now. But the regulations require budgets to be done by a certain time, so we'll meet those. So if the board wants to have an early April town meeting, that can certainly happen.
All right. So what would the impact, is there no real impact between April 9th versus May 7th, other than potentially new board members?
None. I mean, I think.
But it's a mandate, right? Is it because we had our?
No. So the bylaw says you're supposed to have it in April, but you can extend it into May.
So you can, but I thought it was only if you had the election on the, okay, no, okay.
So, I think, I'd like to think with the board having the opportunity to get the budget in mid-December and the FinCom having the budget in, January or February, that will give them enough time to work through the budget process and have a meeting, have a town meeting in early April, if that's what the board wants to do. A couple of things just to keep in mind. We're looking to have the elections, I think, on Saturday, April 16th. The 2 weekends after that are spring vacation, April vacation. So.
That's the beginning of April vacation, isn't it?
April vacation starts Monday.
The 18th.
Yeah.
So folks will start leaving Friday the 15th.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's school either. Not on Monday.
So
And then they'll be gone the
April 9th
22nd as well.
or May 7th?
I mean, I don't know how much vacation affects the election anyway.
I think it really depends on whether or not you want to have the existing board be the ones presenting.
So really, it's just
budget
whether or
you
not we want
recommend.
Dicky, because he's the only one up for reelection.
I would say April 9th
All
is
right.
fine.
I mean, I don't have a strong feeling either way. I mean,
Easter is the 17th.
yeah, and Patriots Day is probably the 18th.
Mm-hmm. Generally speaking, I think it makes sense to have the town meeting before the next election, but I will also say on a personal note that I'm having a baby the end of March, beginning of April, so if we do pick the earlier date, I probably won't be able to attend that meeting. But again, I appreciate it would be great to have Dickie there.
We'll have technology to zoom in if you want.
Dickie's vote is for
Do you
May.
want me to, on the, laboring, I'll be presenting?
It's your fourth one.
I just know it.
It'll be fast. It's your fourth one. Come on.
All right. So, I mean,
Not an issue.
so really, you can make either one work.
I think so, yeah, absolutely. Not a problem at all.
Sounds splendid.
April 9th.
April 9th?
Doesn't matter to me.
Any issues?
Honestly, the timing of the election doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't really matter because
I'm up for election for the school committee, so it's-
anyone could come up to speed on the articles and they would get, whatever prior year's bill type articles. They wouldn't get Winthrop Street. So,
I'm going to make a great motion then.
go ahead.
I move the Board of Selectmen set the spring 2022 town meeting for Saturday, April 9th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I assume we'll try to have
Love
that
dress.
at the
Well,
intermediate
yeah,
school, as long as there's no mask.
Yes, I think we
mandates.
should,
Okay.
with the
We'll shoot for
mall as
that
a
then.
backup, just in case.
Thank you.
Yeah, you probably should do the backup.
That's not-
Okay. All right, April 9th it is, everybody. Mark your calendars. All right, moving on. Acceptance of employee retirements and resignations. So, actually, Brad, did you want to speak about one of our employees who is resigning?
I'm Bradford Norman, the facilities manager for the town. Tonight, you're going to be accepting a resignation from Chris Woods. Usually we stand up here when we're bringing people in and they stand beside us and we say wonderful things about them. I just wanted to say that when we hired Chris, we had high expectations for him. He not only met those expectations, but he's done an absolutely tremendous job for us for the 2.5 years he's been here. I just wanted to acknowledge that and just tell Chris, if he could stay up and watch this whole thing, if he's out there, that we'd like to say thank you to him because he did a great job for us. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brad.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I'd like to take these one by one then, because there's a couple of long-term resignations that, long-term retirements that are also happening that I want to make sure that we properly recognize. So, since we just discussed Mr. Woods, and I want to thank him for his service, I move that the Board of Selectmen accept the resignation of Chris Woods, head custodian in facilities, effective December 3rd, 2021.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes, and thank you, Chris, very much.
I also would like to move that the Board of Selectmen accept the resignation of Jeffrey Gray, maintenance technician in wastewater, effective November 10th, 2021.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And thank you to Mr. Gray for his service and best of luck. Next, we have the remaining two people are long-term retirements. So I just wanted to quickly say a brief thank you to the following people. First, we have Susan April, who's the Kingston Town Archivist. She's been working for the town since 2007. In the last 14 years, she's brought a lot to this community. Recently, she was featured in her role as Kingston's Town Archivist on an episode of the HGTV series Houses with History. During the segment, filmed at the Adams Center, Susan used historic maps and deeds to assist the show's host in uncovering the history of Kingston's home, the Kingston home that was being renovated and restored. Susan is also the mastermind behind the Pick of the Week local history blog on the Kingston Public Library website. The blog highlights the stories behind images and documents from Kingston's past. Susan artfully ties the Pick of the Week features to current events or relevant points of interest. A recent Pick of the Week featured tracing back the ownership of the 46-acre parcel off of Winthrop Street, uncovering the presence of an access easement in the handwritten deeds from the 1800s. As we all know, earlier this month, with overwhelming support of Kingston residents, the town meeting voted to acquire this parcel to be held in conservation as Kingston's Blackwater Memorial Forest. Susan's research played an integral role in building an understanding of the parcel in question, excuse me, and the potential for public benefit due to the existence of the deeded easement. Kingston's Historical Commission has also gone out of their way to express how much they have enjoyed working with Susan. She has been an important partner in the commission's work, assisting with programs, displays, and research. She worked with one of the members to create an exhibit on Kingston and World War I to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the end of the Great War. She also assisted the commission in researching the old burial ground, as well as various historical houses and structures throughout Kingston. So thank you to Susan for your tenacity, curiosity, and passion for Kingston's history. We will miss you, and we wish you the best in retirement. So with that, I would like to move that the Board of Selectmen accept the resignation of Susan April, archivist, effective January 15th, 2022.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sorry, I had to get a sip of water.
That was a lot of talking. Thank you, Susan.
And the final retirement that we have tonight is from Angela Kirstein, and she is one of the longest-standing employees of Kingston, having been hired in 1989. And Angela is the Assistant Finance Director, Town Accountant, and over the past 31-plus years, she's worked for the Kingston Schools, the Council on Aging, the Collector's Office, and now in accounting. And so she's a wealth of information. She's also worked under the past 4 town accountants and has been able to provide consistency to that office and has filled a very the role in a very trustworthy way, making sure that bills get paid on time and everything's properly documented. She's also a Kingston resident, and I guess she lives pretty close by, and to have to work and live in Kingston is a hard task. So for the past 31 plus years, being able to navigate that so successfully and maintain so many great relationships has been quite a feat. I know everyone in Town Hall has a great deal of respect for her, and she's going to be missed. She's also been held a steward position in the Kingston Town Employees Union for several years, and always brings fairness to both the negotiations for the contract and also the grievance procedures. She's an invaluable employee and will be difficult to replace. She'll be missed sorely, but we wish her the best in her retirement, and thank you for all those years of service.
That's awesome.
So with that, I want to move that the Board of Selectmen, I lost my place, Board of Selectmen accept the retirement of Angela Kirstein, Assistant to the Finance Director, Town Accountant, effective February 28th, 2022.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks for putting that together,
Thank
Jess.
you, that's great.
It's really great.
It's really nice. She will be missed.
Right. We're doing some more resignations. This one's for actually, there's 2 of them, from the Historical Commission, and then we're going to be appointing replacements.
So we do them both at the same time, I think, so. I move the Board of Selectmen accept the resignations of Chris Spalding and Ben Tabashi of the Historical Commission effective immediately.
Wait.
Yep.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Go ahead, Sheila.
And then I move the Board of Selectmen appoint the following to the Historical Commission: James McKenna, immediately through June 2022, and David McKee, immediately through June 2024.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. And the next item is we have to vote so that a quorum of us doesn't have to come in and sign and look through all the bills. We have to vote to assign the signing of the weekly warrant to someone. I was away, so Don had taken that over for me for a couple of weeks, and I think he'd like to hand it back off again.
Yeah, it's not Sheila, I think.
I mean, I don't know. He can keep
Oh,
doing it
no.
as far as I'm concerned, but.
I move the Board of Selectmen allow Kimberly Emberg to sign the weekly warrants on behalf of the Board of Selectmen.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And thank you for doing it,
Should I
Kim.
say no?
We appreciate it.
And I know you do an excellent, thorough job, so thank you very much, Kim.
You're welcome. Thanks for filling in, Don. All right, we did 9, we did 10. We're moving on to Mr. Hickey's update.
Thank you. Again, we talked briefly. I'm reviewing the FY23 capital improvement plan as well as the fiscal 23 budget. I hope to have, I will have a recommended budget for the Board of Selectmen at your December 14th meeting that you can then begin to review and make whatever changes you deem necessary. I have reached out to the capital planning committee chairman. We're trying to set up a time where the capital planning committee members can take a field trip around to some of the departments, take a look at what the assets are and what are being proposed to be replaced, so they have a better sense and can see what exactly is being requested by the different department heads. So we're hoping to do that sometime probably in January. I was honored to attend a ceremony that was held by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts last week on November 23rd to recognize firefighter EMT Chris Varaka for the actions he took as an off-duty firefighter on the early morning fire of July 6, 2020. Firefighter Varaka awoke to sounds of a smoke detector activating.
Sorry, I already read that.
You did?
I did. Sorry. I
were
didn't mean to
you were
steal
out
your
of the room.
thunder.
I
I did it
apologize.
at the beginning. My fault. I didn't mean to take it from you.
No, it just.
But you attended. I didn't
I
attend.
did attend. It
so-
was to hear some of the stories of why the firefighters are being recognized that day were really truly amazing, and want to congratulate Chris and the rest of the members of the fire department. Thank them for their work. Obviously, anybody who's gone down 3A in front of Summer Street, they've seen that the Mass DOT is out there making some repairs to the failed pavement, so that's moving forward. We talked about the what's happening and the work that our new public health nurse has been doing in town Just to remind people, if they're interested, there are still clinics that'll be happening on the 27th of November and the 4th and 9th of December. Those are held at the intermediate school. Times are on the 27th, 9 to 12 in the morning, the 4th from 9 to 12 in the morning, and the 9th from 5 to 8 at night. There's no walk-ins for ages 5 to 11. You need an appointment for those aged people only, and please bring your vaccination card. Lastly, I just want to let the board know that late yesterday afternoon, I was part of a conference call with attorneys representing the solar array. Got that in my mind, I'm sorry. The turbine on town property, the company who's looking to build a solar array on the old landfill, and town legal counsel. We, I think, have come to a tentative agreement to have that turbine removed at some point in the future. I don't have a date yet. I will have legal documents that I will get out to the board. They should be out as early as next week, but we'll have that scheduled for a public hearing. We've advertised for today for the December 14th meeting, where the board can hold a public hearing, and we'll make the information public the Friday before if people want to see it. But hoping that that we get this squared away and we can move forward and eliminate that piece of the skyline in Kingston.
To be clear, the public hearing is upon our request. It's not required, correct?
It is. You're absolutely correct. The Board of Selectmen has the authority to enter this agreement. I reconfirmed that again yesterday with legal counsel.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I want to, the board has this authority. At the board's request, we're going to hold a public hearing, so anybody who's concerned and interested can come in and voice whatever opinion they may have, and the board can then make a decision whether or not they support the agreement.
Great. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Quick question on that, if that's okay. Just for that public hearing, when we talk about the turbine being removed, it would be great to have an update on the pending lawsuit between, I know, the manufacturer and the lessee of the turbine. There was a pending lawsuit about replacement parts, and at one point it was presented that there might be a trickle-down effect if that's settled in a particular way. And I just want to know all those pieces, so I just wanted to give you a heads up that this might be a question I have.
I will ask.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Great. Moving on to minutes.
I move the Board of Selectmen approve the October 19th, 2021, November 2nd, 2021, November 15th, 2021, November 16th, 2021, open session meeting minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then selectmen comments.
I have quite a few.
Okay, great. Go, Sheila.
Okay, so just real quick, I know that it's like so late, but this weekend, on December 4th, they're doing the Winterfest at the Kingston Elementary School. Used to be called Breakfast with Santa, but now it's called Winterfest. And so no food this year, but there will be tons to do for the families, and so feel free to come down. It's 9 to 12.
To sign up for a time, though, correct? I believe you have to sign up for a time.
It's for the families. So definitely be on the lookout. It should be in your parent square with the 500 other things that you have in the parent squares. Also, Silver Lake Drama is doing Footloose, which is super cool. So their tickets are online on their website. So I thought that was really neat. I was really excited about that. I want to bring the kids. And beyond that, we did have a meeting on Monday for school committee. And just to let you know that at this point, we did a big if anybody's looking at the test and stay, it is recorded, and our minutes should be coming up if anybody has any questions about the test and stay, which I think people have had a lot of questions about. We had a very robust discussion about it, and regarding the numbers. They are on the website if anybody has numbers about who is vaccinated. And at this point, we have had no in-school spread. We've had, from the test and stay, we've only had 3 students total test positive out of about 700 tests. And they were not from the school.
Great. Anything else?
We also sent a letter to the commissioner regarding when because January 15th, the mask mandate is up. So we sent a letter asking, we called it the off-ramp, so.
How to get the kids unmasked.
Well, yeah, it was more like, what's going on? He pushed it back to January, so now we're just like,
Got it, okay.
anyway.
All right, great,
Yes.
thank you. Don?
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing. Jess?
No, I'm good.
No, you're not next. You wait.
I
I
will
said
pass.
Jess.
Oh, did you say Jess? I'm sorry.
It's okay, you
I
can
thought you
do.
were waiting for my.
Nope, not yet.
Okay.
I wanted to mention, I forgot to mention during the announcements, we are still looking for plow drivers.
We are.
So we're still looking for plow drivers. If anyone knows anyone or is interested in learning more, they can call the Streets, Trees, and Parks Department, 781-585-0513. So, now, Dickie, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
I'm very busy, but I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Have a great night, everybody.
Have a good night. Shop local.